To be.
Now back to the Bears Den with Drake Toll and J.D. PicKell for the Blonde Boys Power Hour.
Back into the Petty Clinic Low T Bears Den. I'm Drake Toll alongside Coach Glenn Moore today of the Baylor softball program. Coach Moore and company finding out yesterday afternoon they'd be the number 2 seed in the Gainesville Regional, competing against Florida, South Alabama, and South Florida. Coach, thanks for joining the show today. Pleasure as always to have you.
Thanks for having me, Drake. Good to be here. It's a happy day for Baylor softball.
Coach, congratulations. I mean, you do it again. I saw a number yesterday, 47-30 is Baylor all-time in postseason play, and you've got all 47 of those wins here at Baylor. I mean, wrapping it all up into a bow, the last 2 decades for you at this program, how can you sum it up?
I've been a blessed man to be here and surrounded myself with people that are smarter than me, and Baylor kind of recruits itself. It certainly doesn't get any easier with the rise of cost of education here, but the good Lord has sent us some pretty good players that have performed well. And, you know, I think our program does a great job of preparing once we turn in our resume to the committee and they give us our marching orders. I think we do a pretty good job of preparing for the competition typically.
Coach, along with that, you know, I was texting with some people around the program last night. We were talking about really the way that things were going to work out with postseason seeding. There were a lot of teams that were right there on that bubble, and especially in the COVID year. I mean, the volatility of this season, so many programs didn't know. I mean, there were teams in their auditoriums last night with pom-poms ready and signs that didn't hear their name called. For your team, how did you prepare your girls for that moment? And did you know where you would be and that you would get in?
Well, a lot of stuff there, Drake. I have been on the other side of that. And I think there's when you get your program to the point where you're expected to be in the NCAAs every year, there's some value to having a team sit and not have their name called out. So we believe in doing that. It's not to shame them, but it's to prepare. A little bit of hurt can go a long ways. It can, if we had a pill to give our kids before the season starts that would let them feel what they would feel when their name's not called out, then they'd work a little bit harder at practice and they would perform, make sure they did get to bed on time. They ate a little bit better. And they give themselves a little better opportunity to be successful. But we don't have that pill, so that's an opportunity to do that. So I've been on that side as well. You know, honestly, if you just look from an outsider's point of view, you would think, well, Baylor didn't have a very good shot this year. But from an insider's point of view, I felt fairly confident that we had done enough because we schedule strong enough. And we play those teams non-conference. We don't pad our schedule for stats, and in order to build all Americans, we schedule strong to prepare us for this time of the year, and it's paid off more often than not for us. If you don't overdo it with scheduling and beat your team up too much, we're beat up. But if you don't do it too much, then you will be more prepared for postseason. And the Big 12 will prepare you to a certain degree for sure with the teams that we have in our conference, but you need to play that non-conference schedule. So to answer your question, I told them after that final game in Oklahoma City, which we certainly were disappointed, that they'd done everything to this point that they felt they needed to do, have maybe some regret, but anyway, this is what we're going to turn into the committee, and we're going to meet and hope that the softball gods smile down on us, feel like they did this time.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned that at the top of the show today, that the softball gods ended up being on Baylor's side, thankfully. Looking up and down your schedule, you talked about it. I mean, you scheduled tough competition in the non-conference. You open up conference play, and you got teams like Texas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, who's a tournament team, and obviously Oklahoma, who was unbelievable this season. When I ask you this question, there are a lot of coaches, conferences that would respond very differently, but I want to know from your perspective, seeing Baylor as a 2 seed in that Gainesville regional at number 4 Florida, did the committee get it right and do right by Baylor?
I feel they did. I'm very happy with that 2 seed. would not have been shocked if we had been a 3 seed. Was a little surprised at where we went. I thought we'd be in Baton Rouge, to be honest with you. I don't know that I've ever had the location right and where we've been sent, maybe once or twice. But they have a lot more information, Drake, than the average fan does. The average fan looks at the popularity poll. I do that with other sports. I have a little bit more inside information here. But with other sports, I look at the popularity poll. And a lot of fans don't even realize that's not even considered in factoring in the selection of the 64. The popularity poll plays no role in that. They would put out the RPI poll every week for people to look at, and judged by that, that would be a little more accurate. We stayed in the 30s. We finished somewhere around 31, 32, and I've never seen a 30 not get into the NCAA tournament. This is a crazy year, and I was a little nervous, to be honest with you, but especially with the way we finished. But we were beaten quality losses by good teams for the most part. The team that maybe Texas Tech lost really, really hurt us, but then they turned around and beat Texas 5-1. So we had an argument that we deserved to be in, and I think it paid off in the long run.
Coach, looking at that, the metrics, the different metrics around college softball, too, one of the things that was brought up a lot yesterday around, especially the Pac-12 conference, is that RPI conversation. When you're in the middle of your season, how much do you pay attention to metrics like that? Are you just there to win as many games as possible on your slate, or are you ever looking at your postseason seeding or what you can do to bolster that resume?
I look at the RPI constantly. I look at, the RPI is very difficult to understand. It's not necessary. It's not just what you do against your schedule. It's what your opponents do, and even what your opponents do. So we will see, for instance, last a week ago, we jumped about 8 spots and unexpectedly jumped to me, but it was because of what our opponents did in their schedules. And so if you have some success against your schedule, then they go to work for you, or either they can hurt you. But, that's just the way it works. It's a formula. And I pay attention to it. I don't talk a lot about it to our team, but if I do hit on a poll, it's going to be the RPI and not the popularity poll.
Coach, looking around the conference, and I know I've mentioned the Pac-12 and seeing that there are a couple of these conferences that are disappointed or upset, and their head coaches have voiced that. But, I looked up and down the Big 12, and this may be as strong as I've seen the conference, especially maybe in the last 5 to 10 years. What is your assessment of where the Big 12 was this year from a competition standpoint?
Well, you nailed it, Drake, and I've made no secret that the top 3 are separate from the rest of the conference. The Texas, Oklahoma State have separated themselves from the rest of us. But we deserved 5 teams in, and I thought it would have upset me had we not received 5 teams. And the Big 12 is starting to gain some more respect ever since we've lost some teams to other conferences. We have lost a little bit of respect with our conference and our RPI as a conference, but we still have remained in the top 4 and usually in the top 2 or 3. So for some reason, we haven't been getting the teams in. And I think the quality of teams in the Big 12 has certainly increased this year. Oklahoma State's made a big run the last couple of years with Kenny Gayeski there, turning that program around completely. Of course, Texas has as well. And we're down a little bit right now, was the last couple of years, but we'll come back as well. So Oklahoma's there every year. So I think our conference was finally represented the way that it deserved to be represented this year.
Coach, I remember sitting with you in Gainesville this time, I guess a couple months ago, this time last year, and right there on the cusp of playing Florida in a 3-game series. The team had gotten hot, just swept Houston on the road, a really solid Houston team, and that's when the bottom fell out. The season was ended. Does it feel like it's now come full circle, the fact that you'll be on a plane to Gainesville here in a couple days?
Yes, we've mentioned that there's a lot of parallels, a lot of symbolism in what's taking place here. I was on the texting Coach Walton at Florida last night. We got a kick out of the fact that we're coming back over there now after some joking that we had that took place after we were headed home last year. And he and I go way back to his days at Oklahoma and even when I was at LSU. So friends a long time, and we're excited to be. He's got a great program. He's done an outstanding job. He's used the resources that he has and built a perennial power in Florida. So it's an honor to go down there and play against him in a great program like that. But it is ironic that that's where we ended our season. We're able to get out of there in time and get all the kids back home in time from the COVID shutdown. But yeah, it's ironic that we're going back there for postseason.
Coach, I remember too watching that Florida State series that was taking place right before your team was to play Florida in Gainesville, and it seemed like a couple of the pitchers and batters had come up, and I mean, you made mention of those are girls that you've seen while recruiting. I mean, this is a Florida team that maybe you're not so unfamiliar with. Do you know some of the names or some of what you're already getting out of a Florida regional that is boistered or that really is headlined by that number 4 Florida team?
Yeah, it's a small world in softball recruiting. Everybody heads to Colorado and looks at the same kids, and you recruit out of the same travel ball organizations, as you know, Drake, and they accumulate the best talent in their areas. We have them here in Texas, they're in California, they're in Arkansas and Oklahoma, and you know which ones that are going to do the work of accumulating the state's best talent, and then you're going to find those and watch them. So you get to see a lot of these kids that you don't sign or sometimes aren't even recruiting. So you do know a lot of these kids. They know each other. It's a fraternity, sorority, and they just So we've got a good idea that the pitching in this tournament is going to be phenomenal. South Florida's got one of the best pitchers in the country. South Alabama's got a great pitcher as well. It's going to be a pitcher regional for sure.
Coach, along with that, first round, getting South Alabama, I know it's not even been 24 hours since you found that out, but do you have an early assessment on that team individually?
I do, and I go way back with Coach Clark there, and one of the most respected coaches I know as well, and Coach Clark was at Mobile when I was in the NAI at William Carey College. We meet on the recruiting trail all the time. Great respect for what she's done there, and she's always seems to have a pitcher, Drake, and she's got a good one this time. Rise ball, screwball that's very dominating. They beat Alabama 1-0, shutout, one of the best hitting teams in the country. They chased their rise ball. We're going to have to lay off that for sure. Not an outstanding offensive team, but a good offensive team that can score runs, but pitching's the name of this game. So if you've got pitching in this game, you can beat anybody, and they certainly have it.
Well, Coach, when it comes to pitching, obviously you've got Gia Rodoni on your side as well as Sydney Holman-Manziel and what they've been able to put up in non-conference and conference this season. Going into the regional, what are you hearing from some of your older, more experienced players who maybe remember the World Series run or remember being in the College Station Regional, being in the NCAA postseason?
Fun to get. I'm glad you asked that question. It's fun to hear from those guys. They reminisce during this time of year of what it was like. We have Coach Diaz on our staff, Megan Weldon. Before she's married, now Coach Diaz. She is second baseman for us in the 2011 World Series, and just the flashbacks of this past weekend being in Oklahoma City and being in the same locker room where. She hid in a garbage can and scared me when I walked into the locker room, jumped out of the garbage can. Just the memories they had, the friendships they make, the competition is unbelievable at this level. And it's hard to get here, Drake. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment that these athletes put into being a college student athlete, and a lot of sacrifices. And I was just as proud for this group as I ever have been. And then you hear from those that have played here. We've been to a lot of regionals and super regionals and 4 World Series, and the memories are, as I get old, they're the things that I cling on to. And I'm just really proud that the good Lord has given us another stage to represent him on, and that's what we plan to do once more.
Coach, going into this postseason, a team riddled by injuries this year. You got the passing of Coach Lum in last fall, and then you go through a year where some of your top hitters, top 2 or 3 hitters, see their seasons ruined by injury. Talk about maybe more in depth what this team has gone through this specific year to get to the postseason.
One of the most emotional selection shows I've ever been a part of last night because of what we've been through. And I could give you a list of things that would just baffle the average fan of what this team has had to survive. And, on top of that, they're dealing with a coach that's had a heart attack. And I've been through a couple of heart casts, and they're having to deal with that while the rest of the staff's having to pull all the weight. Coach Hoot and Britt and Coach Diaz are having to do all my work. And they're worried about their coach and those distractions. And then we lose our leadoff hitter and Nikki Dawson and then Anna Watson, and then they start dropping like flies. I think we have 15 available right now for us on our roster. That's incredible to think that we're down to that. And again, those are the internal things that the outside can't see, and I get it. It's their job it's the fans' job to critique the performance and the outcome, and I'm a fan in a lot of sports, so I get all that. But what has made this so rewarding is what these kids have had to endure to continue to put Baylor University on the map, and not on the map, but on the national scene. They're on the map. I mean, heck, right now there's only a couple of sports that are not ranked in the top 25, and we're one of them. So, it was a time when we were one of the few that was ranked every year, and now we're one of the ones that are not. So we've got to pick things up in softball. But what this group has been through, representing this university, I would put them up against most teams that we've had here that have received a ton of success. So when you receive those rewards like this on a team that's been through the fire, it's just it is very emotional for me to see that they've overcome. These are the things that prepare them for life. Softball is a microcosm, athletics is a microcosm of life, and these are the things that prepare them for life.
Coach, I mean, the character building that this season has been for your team, for your girls, and everybody involved with the program. Now going into the postseason, getting a shot at number 4 Florida, a shot at South Alabama and South Florida, and then past that, the possibility of a super regional even further. What is the message for this team as you go into Gainesville?
I had quite a few ready for them last night. The most important, we expect to compete, Drake. We're not to the point of where we're just happy to be there. We've long passed that. One of my recruits sat on the seat in my office a few years ago, and she asked me a question that probably earned her scholarship to Baylor. I won't call her name, but she said, "Coach, are you happy with just going to the World Series, or do you want to win it?" And I just love that passion and that desire. She said, because I want to win it, and I want athletes that expect to win. So we're going to go down here and expect to compete at the highest level that we can possibly compete at with the talent we have on the field. And that has to be good enough. And along the way, you've got to enjoy the moment. It can't be an outcome-oriented. I've never been an outcome-oriented coach, and you can't be outcome oriented. You got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy the process. And I believe if you're a process oriented coach, you're going to perform better along the route.
Coach, Bear Games question of the day for you. And I want to say congratulations again on behalf of myself and the rest of us here on making another postseason. I think a lot of people take it for granted now. It's just how automatic that you and your program, your staff have made it to go to the postseason. It's a select few teams that get that honor, and congratulations. But Bear Games question, I want to tailor today's a little bit toward you. We've gauged a lot of the reaction today from, Washington and their reaction to their selection show, and really the Pac-12 as a whole. Kind of what do you make of some of the national media and the way some of these teams really approach their seeding and ranking going into postseason play?
It's good for us. It's getting publicity. You guys are talking about it. Would I've walked out of a room when my name was called? I don't think I would, but I can't say that if I felt my team was wronged, I would fight for them. You've watched me on the field probably get an early exit from a game a few times because I felt they weren't treated fairly. And I watched them work and sweat and bleed every day out there. So it's my job to try to get them an equal playing field. So I'm not going to be too judgmental on that. But at the same time, in defense of the committee, because I've been on those committees, Drake, and I know how difficult it is. And I know that the things you look for and look at is privileged information that only the committee has that the rest of us do not have. So, whether it's top 25 wins, the last 10 games, quality losses versus, 100 or lower losses, things like that the average person doesn't even have that information. I know they work extremely hard to try to get it right, and they don't always get it right. The Washington decision doesn't look right to me either. I personally think they should have been protected from Oklahoma, Alabama, and UCLA, and then after that, maybe a 12, 14, 12, 13, something like that. But at the same time, I don't have all that information. So a little controversy is not bad. They get to you guys talk about it. So it's good for our league.
Well, that was certainly a big topic of conversation today, not just for us, but across the country. And so, hey, like you said, very little publicity is bad publicity. So at least softball is getting some of it. Coach, I want to thank you again for coming on the show today, and congratulations on another postseason. Excited to watch you in Gainesville this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me once again. Take care.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure, Coach.